Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So exciting. So exciting. So exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you.
The Love Boat.
Soon we'll be making a love our own. Welcome to another episode of Sippin' on the Love Boat. Excellence.
Yeah, y'all can tell we on one today, y'all.
Oh, man.
Man, welcome y'all to another beautiful Saturday morning.
It is. It is
another week.
Gorgeous outside today.
Yeah, all this rain we've been getting, it's about time, man.
I know.
Thank you all for all you who joined the live today. Participation is great. Now y'all need to start sharing this podcast and getting everybody in the mood and sipping on excellence with us. No, but we're grateful to all of you who have been there with us from day one, and we're grateful to all of you who are this may be your first podcast you hear.
I know. Day one, it was just us.
I know, right?
We got a few people listening now.
Yeah, I'm kind of digging it.
I can dig that.
You know, we got a little bit of a worldwide following, which is cool. Yeah. You know, from parts around the world that I wouldn't suspect.
Right.
You know, we have a pretty decent following in Tunisia and some other places, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I'm liking it. I'm digging it, y'all. Thank you. Now y'all just need to watch the YouTube.
Thank you.
Shameless plugs.
I know, right?
I don't care. It's us. It's our shit.
That's how it gets out there. Listen, man, you watch these old infomercials. They used to shamelessly plug.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I mean, everybody plugs themselves. Why not?
Yes.
Why
I
not?
mean, it's our platform. We can plug whatever we want.
That's right.
We plug your coaching stuff. We plug medicine. We plug it all.
Right. That's right, Chief. What's that from? That's right, Chief.
Oh, I don't know.
What is that from?
He lost me.
Pop quiz.
He lost me.
That was Tracy Morgan on Martin.
Damn, you went back.
Yep.
You went back.
What's a Morton?
You went back. I forgot Tracy Morgan.
Morty Moore. He came after Bruh Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, who?
Yeah, he was Hustle Man.
Yeah. Yes. That was an iconic show for the early 90s, man.
It was.
It really was.
It was also great to see them when they did the reunion show, all of them getting back together.
Minus Tommy.
Well, that's because he passed away.
Yeah.
Him passing brought them back together.
Because they were at odds.
Well, it was
Martin and Tashina Arnold.
Not
Tashina Arnold, but what's her name? His girl in the show.
Gina.
Martin and Gina weren't getting along.
Tisha
y'all.
Campbell.
Tisha
There you
Campbell,
go.
Yeah.
My God.
Woo.
The struggle is real. We haven't even started sipping yet.
Man, I'm going to tell you. Did I tell you this last week about how I couldn't remember my mom's doctor's name? I didn't tell you that, did I? No. So, funny joke. And this is a friend of mine. She's been a friend of mine for years.
Okay.
And she became my mom's doctor. Mm-hmm. And there was a patient that came to my office that just made me think of her because she was a pain in the ass patient for both of us. And we were just like, this woman gives us chest pain every time we see her. I was going to call her. I opened my phone and dude, I could not remember her name.
Blank.
It went straight blank. And I was like, oh shit.
And she's a friend.
Dude, friend of mine. I couldn't, just like me picking up the phone and I'm looking and I see your face and I'm like, damn, what's my boy's name? Because we don't remember phone numbers these days. No. So I couldn't think of it for the life of me. And I called my mom. I was like, Mom, what's your doctor's name? She's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I can't remember her name for the life of me. And then she told me, I was like, oh. She's like, I'm going to tell her. I was like, dude, you can't tell her. So I called her and told her. Look, girl, I forgot your name. Like, I literally forgot your name in that hot second, and it just wouldn't come back. There was no recall.
And next thing you know, he's going to have life alert.
How you know I ain't got it now?
I'm
falling.
You better stop playing. You know you throw all those AARP magazines away.
I am. They should have started coming. That shit started coming like a couple years ago. I think they started mailing them out in your 40s to get you
I
teed
haven't
up.
got mine yet.
Oh, it's coming. They don't have your address yet. Tell them to call me. I'll point it out.
Nah. We gotta get them discounts,
Dude.
bro. You better
When
stop playing.
it's beneficial, absolutely.
You better stop playing.
You a senior? Well, what do you consider senior? And what kind of discount do I get?
I had a client years ago. She was in, I want to say late 70s.
Right.
And I used to always tell her, so you know you conveniently old, right?
Right.
You're conveniently old. She used to literally pull that card like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do that. I'm a little too old. I said, look, pick that weight up. Pick it up now. Let's go. You better stop playing with me.
It says old when it benefits them.
Yeah. Then she called me a bitch. You bitch.
And what can you say to that? But
right. I'm like, exactly. Picking and choosing when you're going to be old. What language?
Right.
Old bitty.
Oh, man. But how was your week, man? What did you learn about yourself this week?
I learned that. What did I learn about myself?
Well, it was his anniversary, y'all. So,
yeah, I learned that it was my anniversary. I'm gonna start there.
happy anniversary.
Yes, 10 years of glory, 10 years of greatness. It's been good 10 years, really good. I feel like, though, we've learned more in the last 2 to 3 years, mainly the last 2 years, than we have in the first, 11. Yeah.
People are like, that doesn't equal 10.
Yeah. We were together for 3 prior to. But no, I feel like the last 2 years we've learned so much. And sometimes she'll say, it was a little bit tough year. I was like, actually, it's been a great year because we've grown a lot. And we've decided not to push the easy button and stop running from certain conversations, like having it, hashing it out, dealing with it, realizing, oh, well, we can get through this. Okay, this is good. We're great.
See, that's cool.
We are great. I love that chick.
It's cool when you're in a great space, right?
She's a beast. I love my wife. You heard it, girl. I love you.
She is a beast. She's cool as shit.
Yeah, man. Man, except for when it gets close to 8 o'clock. Boy, the tide turned quick. She's like, it is bedtime. Woo. She started fading quick. And
like
we
that,
out. So you guys can't see this what I'm about to do, but when we're out and we are like at someone's house, she'll start doing this.
Rubbing that head.
Rubbing her head. I'm like, all right, guys, it's time for us to go now.
I will admit, though, birthday, she hung in there.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
I think she took a nap before.
Oh, that works. Like, rest up.
She was prepared for the evening.
Right.
But when people were talking about going out after your birthday, she's like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah. Notice we all chuckled and was like, we all good.
Yeah. But
this wasn't my 25th birthday. We all had delusions.
Yeah.
Until we got to the car, we're like, nah, we're going to the house.
Yeah. But I would say I learned this week, that growth is infinity.
Yep.
Infinity. You always can receive new information. Always a better process.
And growth is inevitable, whether you want to grow or not.
Man, if you ain't growing, you dying.
It's that simple.
If you ain't growing, you dying in some capacity.
Yeah. And you can't, if you're exposing yourself to the world around you, you're growing. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to admit it or not.
100%. 100%. Enough about me, more about me.
I will say this week, one of the high points of my week and what I've learned was reading that damn book you gave me that you told me to get. The Way of the Superior Man by David. How do I pronounce his last name? Deida? D-E-I-D-A.
I think it's Deida.
Deida.
Yeah.
Dude, That was a great book. Just turned my brother onto it. It is, every man, every woman should read that book.
It is a Bible.
We don't plug other people's shit, but that book right there.
It is a must.
Read it.
It's an absolute must. And what was the first thing I told you? I said, you're going to finish this book in about 2-3 days tops.
It took me, I was like, I couldn't put it down. It took me 2 days.
Yeah.
And normally I flip through a book, I get a little bored, and then I come back to it. I had to stop myself from reading it at midnight just so I go to sleep.
Yeah. It's like binge watching a program.
Yeah.
It's a great binger.
Because each chapter is only 2-3 pages. And he hit topics that make you say, damn. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize how much of the stuff we talk about is in that book. And I was like, damn, okay, we're getting this right. Oh, somebody agrees with us. Oh, this is cool. I didn't think about it that way. And it just kept me stimulated.
You know what the book is like for me? It was like Cast.
Yes.
It created you don't have a just male point of view or just female. You have an overall view, or hovering view, like, wow, and in such clarity.
Yes.
When you're done. And you don't feel like when I read New Jim Crow, I was like, I was ready to go fight somebody.
Right.
But when I read Cass, I was
didn't get that feeling.
Didn't get that
because it was an education, but it was almost like a world education.
Yeah. And that's what that book did for me about human interaction and relationships.
And people may look at it and completely misread the title.
I think it's done on purpose that way.
Yeah. And before you judge the book, The Way of the Superior Man, by the title, read the book, because it's not telling you that men are superior. It's just telling you how to become your own superior man.
And I told you, for me, I gave more women that book than I did men. I used to go buy a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I
remember you were telling me that.
Yeah.
Because you've been telling me about this book for a long time. and you brought it up a couple times on the podcast and on our lives. And I was like, all right, let me just get this book. I plan on reading it again, because I know it's one of those books that you can keep going back to get little nuggets. So that made my week great, because I knocked that shit out.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep looking over at it because it's sitting right there on the coffee table. So yeah, man, it was a good week. Work wasn't too busy, and I was able to kind of focus on that, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
And get his workouts in.
Oh, I got 4 of them in this week. What I've decided, man, I got to start, no matter what time I get home, at the very least, man, jump on that row-rim bike. Because I know when I get home 8, 9 o'clock, I'm not going to feel like doing the workouts you made for me, because I'm not going to feel like lifting. But I could at least move. And so that's what I started thinking. That's what happened on Tuesday. When I told you Tuesday, I just jumped on that and that. Turn the TV on and I can get through it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another author out there that her whole thing is called the 5-second rule.
Okay.
I think it's Mel Robbins. But one of the things is, like, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're going through in your head, it's like, I think the premise is you take about 5 seconds, breathe it in, and then take action. Like, jump on it, take action.
Okay.
And you doing that, saying, okay, let's go. That's what made me think about that. And actually, I started doing that more for myself with a lot of things in the household, writing things out, creating content. I'm like, okay, that's a thought. At least write it out.
Yep.
Put it down. Put it down now, because you're going to forget.
Because that's what we do. We forget. We learned that lesson.
Like your mom's doctor.
Right. We had a great idea. Damn, we just brought that up. Oh. Damn, did you put it in your phone? No, I thought you did.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes perfect sense, man. It makes perfect sense. Today we wanted to get, Coach and I have been talking about this for a while, and it comes up at various times, and we thought it'd be a good idea to discuss coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. Like, how do people, we talked about life's process.
Right.
Now, I think this is that was sort of a good segue into, okay, how do you cope with life's actions?
Right. So, like, in the course of you working through your processes and the journey through those processes, things are going to happen.
Good or
what do you
bad.
do? What good or bad? So what are you going to do to cope with those things?
Yeah.
And how do you cope? You know, is it negative? Is it positive? Is it, how do you turn that negative into a positive? Is it just neutral? Is it whatever?
Yeah, and I think we'll get into all of that today, but we got a cool ass cocktail. So Coach and I decide, every week we think of a cocktail, but the first thing is to think of the base.
Right.
Like, is it going to be rum? Is it going to be tequila? Is it going to be cognac or whatever it's going to be? Mm-hmm. Notice we didn't say gin, but
We'll never say.
so
gin.
we come up with a base, and we're like, all right, let's look through this. I got this little book that's got every drink known to man in it, thousands of cocktails. So most of these aren't the ones we made up, but we've made up a couple over the weeks. But this one, flipping through, and believe it or not, whatever the cocktail was made of, we were gonna make it because the name just jumped out and slapped me in the face.
The name led.
The name led us to drink this cocktail.
Right.
The name of this cocktail is called a Gorilla Tit. Yes, I said it. Gorilla Tit. And so, what's in this cocktail? It's actually very simple. It is 1 ounce of rum, dark rum, 1 ounce of bourbon, and 1 ounce of a coffee liqueur. We used Kahlua. Shaken over ice, poured in a lowball glass or basically an old-fashioned cup.
And don't forget
our party coasters. For those who like to party. Anyway, my man, this is gonna be a good cocktail, good conversation. Cheers. Cheers, you guys.
Gorilla.
Gorilla titty.
No, it's just one. So it's just a tit.
We got two.
And is it tit or is it teat?
Tit. T-I-T to me is tit. You can spice it up how you want.
Because the term comes from the cow. So teat, isn't it?
Why does it got to come from a cow? Why can't it come from your tit?
The nipple. They're called tits because of the cows, right?
Cows the only ones with nipples?
Fine. Well, that's a good question. That's what's wrong with y'all. Mm-hmm. Maybe what's wrong with, I don't know. Should I question them for that? Why do men have nipples?
Because we were once women.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, think about it. We all start out in utero,
right?
Kind of what we are, and then we kind of do that. Right. But why do men have nipples? I don't know.
Just saying.
That's a good question.
Just.
Yeah, why? Just so we look normal?
Balance of life? I don't know.
She got him, we got him. We're equal.
I guess so.
Some are functional, some
aren't. I mean, hell, you hear about men having chest cancer, breast cancer.
Oh, yeah, it's funny because you got breast tissue.
Yeah.
It's just not common.
Who's famous that had it?
That I don't know.
Shut your mouth. Shaft.
Oh, for real?
Richard Roundtree.
Did not know that. Mm-hmm. See, wealth of knowledge over here. Random facts. This dude should be on Jeopardy.
We used to watch Jeopardy like it was going out of style.
Yeah, everybody did, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, let's dive into.
I was gonna say, you got a what's wrong with y'all?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's dive into the what's wrong with y'all, man. Got a couple of them. So, first one. There was this post I saw on Instagram about the first transgender kid modeling during New York Fashion Week. Mm-hmm. Kid's 10 years old, raised by trans masculine parents. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the part that, and maybe somebody one day will help me understand because I don't know. So I'm letting y'all know that now. I don't know. But they said the kid started showing signs of gender dysphoria at the age of 2. I'm silent because I don't have a clue as to how that's possible. Now, the other thing is that they said they've already made it to the point where they were going to allow the son to what's the word I'm looking for?
Transition?
To transition into the female.
Okay.
By the age of 16. Mm-hmm. So going to stop puberty. You're going to do all those things. Now, is it right or wrong? We talked about this when my brother was on. Mm-hmm. You know, at what point can you say, do you say a 2-year-old has the capability of saying, I want to be a girl or I want to be a guy, or at 2, you know, and you ask some adults when they knew and they say, dude, nobody remembers when they were 2. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. You know, you can't tell me you remember feeling an exact certain way when you were 2 years old.
I think my earliest recollection of childhood is maybe very vaguely like 5. Vaguely.
Put it this way. My father died when I was 5. I have zero recollection of him. Mm-hmm. You know, and so that's how I know. My earliest like vivid memory of how I felt about things was probably 2nd grade. Somewhere in there.
And you know what those thoughts are like? They're like overexposed pictures. You can kind of see, but you don't have a
It's not sharp.
It's not sharp, yeah.
And the further you get away from that, the less sharp that memory is. And so when somebody's like, yeah, my kid at 2 has gender dysphoria, please tell me how you know this. Or am I wrong for thinking that maybe because both parents are trans, they're looking through a different lens and maybe sort of putting that on their child and saying, well, yes, my child is this way too. Well, I don't know.
That's an interesting perspective as well, because you think about the parents. The parents are 2 women, correct? I think
so. They're trans masculine. So yes, they transitioned to masculine.
They both transitioned to masculine. So that means they were are they attracted when they got together? Were they attracted to a man or were they attracted to a trans?
Dude, no idea.
Which is interesting.
Yeah,
just food for thought. Like, how does your mindset work and wrap around that? Because you hear Caitlin says that she's still attracted to women.
Yeah.
But to think that these 2 transitioned to men, correct? And that they have a child that they adopt, or they...
I didn't get the details, but this was, because they could easily have a child through artificial insemination, or whatever. Of
course. But also...
Because men can have babies.
Right. And then... and then... wow, it's like a forced agenda.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into that. And then, how it's being praised as, the first transgender child is modeling. It's like, why does that even have to be a thing? I'm missing something. And what happens if this kid says, I changed my mind? Like kids often do.
So they're saying the first transition
kid.
So
the kid was a boy that modeling now as a girl.
But isn't
in Fashion Week?
Isn't the girl from Euphoria? She's been modeling since her teen years. I think that, and also look at Dwayne Wade's daughter.
They were saying the first
is it Zoe?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first to...
She has a big ad now, too.
Didn't see that.
Yeah.
But they were saying the first one to walk in New York Fashion Week.
Okay, there you go. New York Fashion Week. Yeah. At 10, though. That's also... That's a little... I mean, even for a woman, that's a little disparaging, too. That's... That's influence. That's... Which, for me, you know what that says, too? That almighty dollar speaks above all for any and everybody.
One of my brother and I's
dollar.
favorite sayings: "Money trumps whatever comes second."
Yep.
I don't care what you say it is.
Yep.
You know. So yeah, that's one of my what's wrong with y'all, and I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. So somebody one day hopefully can explain it to me. And unlike a lot of people, I'm actually open to conversations and will listen.
That's why we're bringing it up.
Yeah, talk to me. I got no agenda here. I just want to know. So that way when I speak about stuff, I can speak intelligently.
Right.
The other what's wrong with y'all. And as we're sitting here, I was just thinking about how this is probably a good thing.
Okay.
So did you see the news reports come out about the Pope and how it's now probably going to come out that priests are no longer going to have to be celibate.
Right.
You know? And the reason why I said that may be a good thing, because maybe all the issues with molestation and all that stuff in the Catholic Church, maybe because these dudes are all pent up and aren't allowed to release. Now you're allowing them to actually have relationships and will that cut down on them messing with little boys?
Because you're cutting out your sexuality.
Yep. Well, and they're not.
We're all born sexual individuals.
Right. So for your religion, you were suppressing your primal instincts.
Right.
But you're still human. And so, yeah, if you're messing with little kids, then you're a piece of shit for that. You know? But I wonder what it is that's making them rethink. And they're never going to say it's something like that.
Didn't they say it to some degree like it was I wanted to say a band. Like a band. But it was like a lifeline band. It was like
they're lifting the band.
They're lifting? What?
They're getting rid of the ban.
A ban.
Of celibacy.
I mean, come on, man. Like it was
their
like
vow of celibacy.
Yeah, it's like they make this decision. Like, come on, bro. Get out. Miss me with that. But
yeah.
I you know what? You're right. You're right. I mean, it could only possibly help. You know,
let them live normal people lives.
Right.
Unless they feel that, now being allowed to, where's their stance on homosexuality? Are they going to now say that's okay too? Because that's part of sexuality in life. A lot of churches are now starting to say, yeah, that's okay. The Catholic Church has been wholeheartedly against it, wholeheartedly against that, against contraception.
Right. Even though they're like the biggest supporters of it at the same time.
Right.
People don't know that. They're like the biggest supporters at the same time, completely against it.
You're going to go to hell for being homosexual, but we stand by you. How crazy is that statement? Yeah. You see, it's just it's a little bit crazy.
We really don't understand how much control they have over the world.
Religion in general.
Yeah. It's a huge stake
it's
in everything. I mean, think about even like the Mormon Church.
Yep.
They're the largest landowners in the United States.
Oh yeah.
The largest.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at that big thing down the street from me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
The big phallic symbols right at the top of Overland.
Right, dude. Dude. Yeah, man. It's just people say, separation of church and state and blah, blah, whatever. So why is it that every time somebody says anything, God bless America? What about your people who don't believe in God? It's one of those things where anyhow.
Next topic.
But I think that leads to, but I think we were talking about coping mechanisms.
Yes.
I think religion gave people a way to cope with shit. Think about this. Think about how strong the ties were to religion and to the church in the days of our ancestors in slavery.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same thing.
All those old Negro hymns that were sung while they're out in the fields. The only thing when your life is going to shit, how do you cope in that? You turn to
Your prosperity is on the other side.
So your coping mechanism becomes your hope. Your coping mechanism becomes your faith.
Right.
You know, and I guess it's a good thing. But who brought that coping mechanism to you? You knew nothing about Christianity till you became a slave. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about that. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to make you a slave, then make you believe in the God that I believe in. And make you feel like that's your only way you're going to get through.
Unless you're a Rastafarian, which is Christian faith.
Yes.
It's a Christian form of Christianity. But, you know, hey. But yeah, slavery is the first thing that I think about every time. It is in relationship to religion and just its place in the black home.
Yeah.
Even
that's
to this day.
That's where it stems from.
Because if you think about if you go to a lot of Baptist church, it's very still fire and brimstone. It's very, we're living.
Episcopal churches like that as well. The Baptist church. Yeah.
We're living hell on earth until you get to the other side, to that pie in the sky.
To the riches beyond belief, the pearly gates, the streets of gold so pure they look like glass. You know, it's just, but they're giving you a way to cope with and deal with the shit of everyday life. You know, how do you cope with, let's do this. How do you cope with uncertainty? Like specifically like uncertainty with work.
I've learned to not just believe, but I learned to, one, meditate, and two, in my meditation, work on manifestation.
Okay.
Thinking beyond what is my current state, because I know there's a rhyme and a reason why I'm still in this place, and knowing that this place is where I'm supposed to be today for a very reason that I'm here today.
Yep.
So I can see the vision and have the presence of mind to know that I can go further.
Because people, we always say, like even in my profession, we see a decline every year, year after year after year. We talk about how the work is there, but it's the only profession where you get a haircut in your salary every year. Mm-hmm. And people say, how do you cope with making less money all the time? Just keep making less. And then I always tell people, how do I deal with it? I deal with it by knowing that every day I wake up, I'm doing something good. And because I'm doing something good, I'm always going to eat. I'm always going to be okay. Yeah. You know, and so that's how I deal with that and how I cope with that. And it lets me, with that mindset, it lets me cope with and let me deal with the disrespect that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going to ask you about, like in your profession, that, how do you deal with that unruly character, that client that's just, I wish I could cancel them, I wish I could fire them kind of client? No. What is your coping mechanism to get through and move on?
My coping, if there's an unruly client, I'm going to get rid of them. There's no, my self-worth is way more valuable.
Yeah.
My belief system in me and what I'm capable of, way more valuable. They're just not in a position to receive what I have to give.
So you don't even let it stress you?
No.
Yeah. And I think that's,
I will cut you and cut you.
And I think that's, and I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They let the outside world and they let people affect how they perform. They let people affect their mood. They let people affect how they view the world. And, you know, I think when people start to let the outside world stress them, and we can talk about this, coping mechanisms for stress, you know, people do a lot of different things. I look at people in my circle, like I have my close friends and I have the outer circle, which is associates. No two people do the same thing.
Right.
What I've noticed is people I know, my friends who are like mothers who have little kids at home, one of their coping mechanisms for the stress of the day is the gym.
Right.
If they don't exercise, they become raving lunatics. And they'll tell you, they're like, I got to get it out. I have to get it out. That's them.
If I don't exercise, I'm a raving lunatic.
Yeah. And so that's a healthy way
Right.
to deal with stress until the point where that actually becomes unhealthy, where you're training yourself so hard 7 days a week, you're running and your body's starting to break down because you don't take care of it.
Because all you did was just funnel one thing of dealing with something else into something else. So you're dealing with like home life. You're dealing with the husband, the kids screaming, trying to survive. You go to the gym, you become so obsessed with the gym, but you become obsessed with the possibility of being something else, still outside of you're still outside of your own realm. You're still outside of your own norm. You're not dealing with you. You're not doing it for you. You're doing it for how you appear.
Yeah. And they take it, you can take it to a whole nother level. It almost becomes, I think these coping mechanisms are how people become addicts to different things.
Yes.
People say, you know what? I hear this all the time. Oh, I just need a drink. What does that mean? What do you mean I just need a drink? Because you think, okay, I'm stressed. How do I calm down or how do I control that? Let me just grab a cocktail. And I've said, dude, I feel like I need a drink today. And when I say it, I laugh to myself because I'm like, I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean?
I know. Because it's not your thing.
Yeah, but there are people out there who it is their thing.
It replaces you dealing with whatever it is.
Right. It removes you from reality for a hot second.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make the problems go away. No. And that's where the alcohol comes in. That's where the drugs come in.
It's a half empty mindset, half empty cup mindset.
When people are stressed, another coping mechanism is smoking. People will light up that cigarette because they feel they need, I'm nervous, let me light up. It's a fixation, on, I got this hand-mouth thing, I just got to do it. And I think that's where these habits form because we're trying to just get by. Do you think, here's a good one, from a man or a woman standpoint, do you think promiscuity is a coping mechanism?
Oh, 100%.
Tell me more. Tell me why, and then I'll tell you why I think.
Getting it in is a way to not deal with you. It's a way to not be involved with someone, not really connect with people, or your lack of ability to connect with people. That's the first thing I think of.
I think for example, you look at dudes who are very sort of aggressive, high body count, sleep with a lot of women. I think part of it may be not necessarily coping with an issue, but giving himself a way to feel wanted, giving himself a way to feel like I'm a masculine hunter-gatherer. This makes me look good. That's what I think he's thinking in his mind. I have to do this to build my self-esteem. I think a lot of times with women who, especially when they're younger, who become very promiscuous, I think a lot of times it's because they're coping with not feeling like they're searching for that love, and they're just searching it from everywhere because I think it was missing somewhere. Or a lot of these men or women were molested when they were younger, You know,
I was gonna say everybody got daddy issues.
yeah, and it gets deep.
Yeah, everybody got daddy issues.
Yes.
You'd be surprised.
And so it starts to roll over. And here's the funny thing. You hear nowadays where people are like, yeah, I can do what I want. I'm in control of my own body, this, that, and the other. When you really peel it back and you asked one-on-one, nobody around, you asked that woman, are you happy with yourself with that? Does that make you feel fulfilled? 99% will be like, I'm not happy with that. Right. But this is just, it's fun. That's who I am. In a group setting, they'll be like, yeah, I'm a boss. I'll do this. Yeah, I can sleep with who I want. Pull them aside and you really dig deep into there. It's almost like they're disgusted with themselves for that. At least the people that I've spoken to, you know, and you got to peel back those layers and they'll all say, I wish that I had not been that way, but I'm trying to change it. I mean, what's her name talks about that shit all the time. Brittany Reiner.
Yeah.
You know, about how she was and now she can't get rid of that because it's part of her.
You ever recall sleeping with someone or being with someone, messing around, and then there's a level of kind of excitement, but then what happens is by the time it gets started, you're like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. And you're like, what am I chasing? Why am I doing this?
And it literally is a shitty feeling.
It's a very shitty feeling. And you feel, you now feel bad, but you also feel bad for that person. You're like,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Like I can't, but you continue
because
you're in
there.
You're like, well, I'm
when
here.
you know you really don't even want to be there.
Right.
You know, and
which is not fair to anyone.
No, and what are we making up for?
Right.
You know, when we're in that moment, what are we accomplishing? We feel like, okay, they're filling a void. Mm-hmm. But then when you're in the moment, you realize, shit, that void is still there because there's no emotion attached to that.
It's kind of like buying a new pair of shoes just because you saw them, they were hot at that time. And you're like, next time you wear them, like 3 months later, you're like, why did I even buy these shoes?
Well, yeah, it's just because you thought they were going to make you feel a certain way. Right. You thought they were going to fill that missing piece.
Right.
And so when they don't, you're like, oh, shit. You know, it's interesting also, you know, to get back to the work aspect. I always ask people all the time, how do you deal with showing up for a job day in and day out that you hate? How do you cope with that? You know, how do you deal with that? You know, we're lucky that we get to do what we love every day.
Right.
But there are people out there who it's a paycheck. And I think that paycheck is how they deal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And because of that, they never get to truly get to realize their purpose because they can't get out of that 9-to-5 rut.
Yeah.
You know? And so their coping mechanism tends to hinder their progress.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just, I was thinking about that the other day and I'm like, man, they get on this hamster wheel.
It's the grind.
Eat, work, sleep, repeat.
That's the grind.
Yeah.
And it's not even rinse and repeat.
No.
It's just repeat. Because you're not even getting a fresh start.
And your hope, your coping mechanism is your hope and faith that you'll get to retire one day. You know what I mean? Instead of living now, you're hoping that you get to retire one day.
What is a negative, but what is a coping mechanism that you may have had in the past that you found to be kind of detrimental, or you're like, yeah, I need to stop this?
I can tell you one right off the top of my head. Being closed off. So whenever something goes down with me, and the perfect example is when I was sick, I shut everybody out.
Yeah.
I completely, when I do stuff and I know I need to handle something, my coping mechanism is to not have people around. Let me deal with it, and then I'll bring it around when I get on the other side. But what I realize as people, we all need each other. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to go through shit alone. And my new coping mechanism is dialogue. if some shit's going on that I don't quite like, which is why I'll say social media has been helpful for me, because when there's shit in my head that I need to tease through, I post and I just write it out. And when I write it out, it makes sense to me, and then people start finding inspiration in my thought process. Before, that used to all just stay in my head. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't have conversations with people. You and I used to talk, but I didn't have real conversations with people. But I just, bring me all your shit. I'm going to deal with my shit and yours. That's how it's always been. And so that was detrimental to me probably my entire life, because I would just bottle it up. I wouldn't tell anybody anything.
Yeah. And then I would assume that because you were always on, like you're always in that moment.
Yep.
That people say, "Oh, he's fine."
Oh, all the time. Because
what you worry about him for? He good, girl.
Because that was the face I put up.
Yeah.
That was just, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of times I wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be
I know.
Emotionally, physically, whatever it may be.
I know one. We went through it.
Yeah. Rough times.
Yeah, man.
Rough
But I told
times.
you, I don't care. You just show up.
Yeah, rough times. I don't care what you can do.
I said, no, you just keep showing up.
Dude, rough times. Woo. But yeah, there's plenty of times when I go through it. And I just, my coping mechanism too was also bury it. If I don't think about it, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's my whole life.
Yeah.
Because I always feel the more shit I have to deal with, for the more shit in my life that I have to deal with, the busier I become to not have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I think I got like 12 jobs.
Yeah.
So I have to deal with it.
Yeah. Did you ever have an external coping mechanism, like something that you like watch TV or whatever?
Oh, my daily coping mechanism before I go to sleep every night to shut my brain off, I watch TV. That's just, it'll be on to whatever it is. Exercise became a coping mechanism for me. Once it became a habit, I feel bad when I don't do it.
Right.
You know, and so going to the gym 3 days a week with you before COVID, and then, you know, all those other things, it made sense. COVID hit. I wasted no time getting equipment because I was like, I can't stop that. Because I don't know what headspace I would be in if I don't know what headspace I would be in if I didn't exercise. You know, I'd probably be just fine, but I didn't want to test it. Why would I go there and test it?
Yeah.
You know? And so some external coping mechanisms for me were being around people as well. So if, for example, I keep going back to when I was sick. When I was sick, I decided I'm going to shut everybody off to what's going on with me, but I'm still going to be around people so I don't have to think about what's going on with me. That's why I never stopped working. That's why I still would go to dinner with my friends. I would do stuff like that, but I needed to get through.
And you realize that's not fair to other people too.
Oh, not fair at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let anybody in.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm learning a little bit now, but it still ain't wide open yet.
Yeah. No, I get that.
You know, I'm working on it.
Oh, I got that.
I'm trying to think about some other external. Like, I was never one of those guys to turn to food or turn to alcohol or turn to, because I wouldn't do things that were physically detrimental to my health. I may have closed myself off, which probably wasn't best for my mental health, but I was never closed. I never did anything like drink a lot, overeat, do all that stuff. Too vain for that shit. But it was always easy for me to kind of just suppress, be the robot. And people started calling me that shit.
I'm sure. I am sure.
Y'all see Dr. Phil over here got me opening up. He snuck that in there.
So what have you found?
Right. You are not the father.
Wrong show.
Oh, yeah, Maury. Anyway, little humor in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we all as humans find different ways to deal with the shit in our lives.
Yeah. But it's so I had this conversation with my mother the other day, and we were talking about watching television. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about how she wasn't sleeping or whatever. I said, You're watching something before you go to bed that's taking from you. It's robbing you. It's robbing your brain cells. It's not feeding you.
Right.
Why don't you try reading before you go to bed? Why don't you try to? I say, even if it's reading scripture, like that's what she likes to do. So
Right.
why don't you at least read scripture? Because what'll happen is you're feeding yourself nutrients, mental nutrients,
Right.
versus something that's just empty deposits. I mean, empty withdrawals.
Well, and the thing is, like me, I try reading before I go to bed. I'll read and start to doze off. I'm like, perfect. Close the book, close my eyes, can't sleep. And then I got to turn the TV on.
Yeah.
And now I ask myself, is it that I can't sleep, so I turn the TV on, or has the act of me watching TV before I fall asleep become the habit?
Right.
Because it's become that coping mechanism and habit. When I don't do it, I can't fall asleep. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I can't if I turn the TV off and then pull out my phone, the phone doesn't do the same thing the TV does.
Right.
It's different.
Right. And think about it. The phone has more mechanics.
Well,
so you have to use your hands.
Well, it's making me use my brain too.
Yeah.
The TV is mindless.
Yeah.
Because I'll watch something, I'll always watch something that I've seen 1,000 times.
Of course.
And so that way I don't have to pay attention.
Of course.
And it allows me to go to sleep.
Oh, yeah. SVU all night long.
Right.
I will watch that show. Now I've become ultra critical of it.
But it also doesn't, it keeps me from being in my head. Because otherwise I'll be thinking about what I got to do tomorrow. I go, I got this project. I got a 5 a.m. phone call for Ethiopia. I got this, I got that, whatever it may be. And I'm just like, okay,
yeah.
How do I shut that part off? Let me watch Bad Boys for Life for the 10th time.
But yeah, I think people, they push the easy button because there's a quick withdrawal, and it doesn't allow them to think about their mess. The drinking, like you said, the smoking, the drugs, porn, whatever it is that's going to get you away from you, as opposed to feeling you.
Right.
And I think people miss the feeling you part.
Do you think that coping mechanisms and the ability for people to cope and deal with things has changed from generation to generation?
Oh, 100%.
We talked about this earlier on our lives, our IG Live, that I think this younger generation now has don't have great coping skills. Because when everything's given to you, you have that sense of entitlement. You don't know how to cope when somebody says no.
Yeah.
You don't know how to deal with that. You don't know how to manage it.
Yeah. Because they never had to strive. They never had to go earn. It's laid out.
And so I think that's why now so many more people are medicated for anxiety, depression.
That's the craziest thing.
Oh, this makes me so anxious. I'm like,
but the thing is, it's so second nature for them to talk about what they're taking.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been training for years, especially training in the West Hollywood area. It's like you hear a couple of things. It's like, oh yeah, I get up in the morning, I go to Pilates, and then I, have brunch with my friends and have my avocado toast, and then I go see my therapist, and then I go, they're doing all these things.
Yeah.
But it's like, I go see my therapist, I've been doing that for like the last 5 years. And then I take my, my anti-anxiety, and then I take my antidepressants, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, people, for example, a friend of mine asked me the other day, should she be on antidepressants? And I was like,
what are you depressed about?
And so they're talking to me, and one of their, it's something as simple as, I wanted my kids to go to this private school and they got waitlisted. And so it's got me anxious and depressed now. I'm like, you do know there's a million other private schools that are good in this city.
Yeah.
This one school, because they waitlisted you, I was like, dude, it's not that serious. Just
2 years.
and they didn't say no, you're waitlisted.
Yeah.
But it's so people, and so it lets me believe that it wasn't just that one thing. It's accumulation of probably other things that you haven't dealt with, and you're not doing a good job with dealing with it, and you're not getting help. So the next thing you say is, oh, I read this online. Should I get an antidepressant? We are, and this is a unique thing to American culture. That's why we use over 75% of the world's prescription drugs. We use over 90% of the world's narcotics. Vicodin, Norco, Oxys. 90% of the world's use of that is here in the States. But what percentage of the population of the world are we? Go figure. Yeah. You know, all of these medications for anxiety and depression, billions and billions and billions of dollars are made just on the U.S. alone, because we are a culture of not knowing how to deal with life shit.
Not coping.
We don't know how to fucking cope.
Not cope. And it's something that's not taught. It's not, it's what you have to create for yourself.
Yeah. And when we go ask for help, the professionals just want to medicate you instead of helping you cope, giving you the tools you need to cope, not the medications, because just because you're anxious or depressed doesn't mean you have a chemical imbalance. That means emotionally there's just some stuff going on and you need to deal with it. But yet we're so quick as physicians to medicate. Oh, let's give you this. You're having some emotional pain. Let's medicate you so you don't feel it. Well, maybe part of your healing is to feel it. You know, things like that. But people don't wrap their head around that because they just want the quickest fix to get through today. And then tomorrow I'm going to take another pill to get through today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have another drink to get through today. I'm going to have And
that's got to be rough. Like, to think that you can't, using alcohol, for instance, that you can't have a drink by just being social or having a good time. Think about how many guys used to say, hey, we're about to go out. Let's get this drink in first so we can, we can talk to the ladies. Let's
liquid
get this
courage.
drink in. Yeah, liquid courage. Like, you're coping with something that you haven't even experienced yet that you're going out to.
Yes.
So you don't have any ability or you don't have any trust in your ability. That's part of it. There's a lack of trust in self.
Right. What's the
lack of trust?
What am I going to do to deal with my social anxiety, which is what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. I get anxious and fearful and withdrawn when I go to talk to a woman. So my coping mechanism is, let me get this shot of tequila, get a little liquid courage, and open up.
And then become the asshole.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah,
because they usually go completely opposite.
Exactly, and so, you're right.
We know one.
Oh, that becomes that mechanism, and that shit ain't healthy. Oh man, look at people
you're actually missing out on life because you're trying to skip steps.
Look at people who eat and use food as a coping mechanism as their mood stabilizer. Or when they're in pain, they eat. Mm-hmm. But what they're not realizing is, okay, you're using food because you eat like shit when you're depressed. Then you eat, you put on weight, you feel like crap, and it draws you into a deeper depression, so you eat more. When you're going to realize that food is not your coping mechanism because you're not coping. Food's not helping you cope. Food's shoving you into a whole depth of shit. You want to cope with your depression, go take a walk.
Right.
If that's what you're going to say, you know what? Instead of eating today, I'm going to go for a walk and listen to a podcast or listen to some motivational speaking or whatever it may be, instead of going to the refrigerator and getting that tub of ice cream. But if you look at TV shows, look at all these rom-coms. The minute a girl gets dumped, what does she do? They show her sitting on the couch eating ice cream.
That's learned behavior.
When a dude gets dumped, they show him going out with the boys, going to the gym, right, working out. what is that with our society? But that's how it's portrayed. And so we all think that that's how it should be. Why can't we all do that? Go exercise, go better ourselves because we got a broken heart or whatever it may be, Dude, it's just, I don't know, man. I think we need to find better ways to cope. We need to find better ways to deal with life.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right. And people talk about meditation. I'm learning to meditate more. I get it. I understand it. It really is just sitting and being present. That's all it is. People think of it as something, this whole process, and you have this perfect moment, this space. It's just being silent and present with yourself. That's all it is.
Well, it's funny. I've never been able to meditate, and here's what I think why. I can't shut it off, and not even shutting it off. If I've tried it, and if I try to meditate, I'm now thinking, am I meditating? You know what I mean? Is this meditating? Is this what I'm doing? And so I get caught up in that whole thought of, am I meditating? Well, I'm sitting here, but I'm still thinking about my this and that, and then I just say screw it, and I'm done.
One of the easiest ways that I found to get started meditating is start a breathing process, learning how to breathe. Learning how to slow down your breaths.
I breathe every day.
Yeah, that's autonomous. But putting effort into it, learning how to breathe in slowly, holding the breath, breathing out slowly, just those counts, you'll find yourself going, I feel a little lightheaded. I feel a little better. But also eventually start putting words with it as you're counting. Finding things that are positive, so to speak, and being able to put words with that.
And I would probably be like, am I breathing deep enough? Am I holding it long enough? Okay. Do I breathe out slower? It becomes very mechanical for me.
Get an app that ticks.
Right. I'd be like, why is it
ticking?
Out. Right. But what's crazy, that's how my mind works. Yeah. I'd start thinking of the mechanics of it. Should I sit in a different posture? Do I sit on the couch? Do I lay in bed? And how do I do this? And so I just get up and move. Yeah. But what I find is that probably one of my other real coping mechanisms is walking. So I'll go, if I get home and it's still light out now that it's daylight savings, I'll get home, throw on a podcast or some music, and I'll go walk 5 miles. And I'll start thinking about stuff. And that's how I come up with ideas for podcasts, whatever it may be, because it allows me clear thought because I'm moving. I think movement is probably one of my biggest coping mechanisms.
Oh, 100%. I come up most of my thoughts while I'm in the car or I'm at the gym. Usually at the gym.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm out and I'm pulling sled. I'm not thinking about the sled. I'm thinking about, okay, all right, what am I going to do?
Because you're focused on your workout, but then your mind, your thoughts are clear at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Interesting though, man. It's very interesting. I'd be interesting to hear people's feedback on how they cope. Like what are some of the people's coping mechanisms that listen to our show or watch our podcast on YouTube, and just get a take on kind of what are the things that are working for them? What are the things that aren't? Mm-hmm. Are you coping? Just because you're doing it doesn't mean you're coping.
Right.
Because your life could be all fucked up and you just don't know.
Right.
But you feel like, okay, I made it through today. Are you just getting by, or are you really dealing with it in a healthy manner?
Right.
And that's what we all have to ask ourselves.
In other words, are those shoes comfortable, or are they squeezing the shit out of your feet?
Right.
And you just getting by.
Yeah. We have to really think about, are we really dealing with it?
Yeah. And that comes
in a healthy manner.
Yeah. That comes with a space of love thyself.
Yeah.
Love thyself. You are the most important thing in your life.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yo, man. Coping mechanism. This is a good one.
Yeah. I didn't know where we were going to go with it.
Me either. I didn't know you was going to make me talk so much about me. That was a good question.
You know this, we like to talk.
Nah, but to make me dig deep into me.
Yeah. It's taking that time, man.
Yeah,
Being present to you.
Where they gonna find you, Coach?
Man, they gonna find me at Coach KJ Knows on Instagram and CoachKJ.com. It's alcohol. Where they gonna find you, brother?
They're gonna find me at Leonel Hunt on Instagram. They're gonna find me.
That's so
Because I want them to spell it right. It ain't Lionel.
Leonel.
Right? You're gonna find me at at the Hunt Foundation or at Hunt Foundation on Instagram. You're gonna find us at huntspine.com and thehuntfoundation.org.
And podcastsoe.com.
You know it. We out, y'all.